Hello, this is Corey with Creative Habitats Landscaping, going over my ideas with you of what we can do to improve the front entry of your landscape. So, the first thing that we would be looking at doing is pulling out this material right here. When we look at it from another direction, we're taking out the hollies, the cleara that's suffering, the two Foster hollies, and this one very lonely hydrangea here. Going to our next slide, this is the first one that we did drawings for you on. So I have two different concepts for this area. This is my concept right here. What you're looking at is having a series of 3 pots. You could do annuals or perennials in these pots. This is cast iron plant. It's an evergreen. And then there's a number of different things that would work for these. But cast iron or autumn fern are my recommendations for here. And then there's a couple of different plants. Astilbe is one of them that would work out really well here. What you see in here is stone, and we're using stone as more of an artistic element. We digitize this. That's similar to what you'd be seeing right there. And then one of my other designers, she also did another version. These are camellias. And then these are just gardenia. And you have gardenia over here once again too. So the two different options for what we can do in this location. What she did in here, I'm like, it works pretty well. What we've done is we've added a stone wall, a Japanese maple, and it can be similar to the one over here, but there's some other options of some more unique Japanese maples. In the corner, this is a plant called Pieris. It is an evergreen and a spring bloomer. And then this is gardenia. We would use probably frost-proof gardenia, which is an evergreen and a summer bloomer. And then in front, one of several plants that would work well here would be Astilbe. She put these in, but I'm not terribly thrilled about those being there. So we'll move on from that. So let me take you on a tour of what these plants look like. This is cast iron plant. I call it a what you see is what you get plant. In other words, if it's 120 degrees or 20 degrees out, it's going to look like this. This is just another version of what that looks like. It's a very hardy evergreen plant. It does extremely well as long as there's shade, but it's sort of like a vampire. Once sun touches it, not so good. This is autumn fern. It is an evergreen. In the springtime, it's going to die down, but comes right back up pretty quickly. But this is a great foundation plant for there too. Same thing, just a different version of what you're looking at there. These two here, I mentioned a plant called Pieris. This is what Pieris looks like. Let's zoom in on the blooms. This is what you're looking at on the blooms. Looks a lot like blueberry blooms, but this is a very interesting plant native to the area. And I'm sorry, it's not. Japanese Pieris is not native, but it does well in this area. I've seen it a lot. In terms of what can we do with the artistic use of stone, this is an example of how along a walkway this can be used to just sort of add texture and interest to it. Same thing here. This is Indiana Creek rock. We get this a lot, but this is another example of how you can use rock as an artistic element, not just for a dry creek bed, but essentially an artistic brushstroke of an idea. This is Astilbe. There's some other things in here that would work well in the location of that Astilbe. Hocone grass. This is also known as Japanese forest grass. This is another example of the same thing. Let's zoom in on the Japanese maple. Let me show you a couple options for the Japanese maple. So this is a Japanese maple called Tamukiyama. It has a completely different texture and size than the one that you have now, but still nonetheless very interesting and very beautiful. This is Orangeola, really interesting color there too as well. So the main thing that I would emphasize is there's some different options if you like the idea of a corner planting of Japanese maple. I have spec'd in there Klime's Hardy Gardenia, also known as Frostproof. Great evergreen gardenia with profuse blooms in the summertime. As we move around to this location, this is your tree. I did just a quick sketch. This right now is what I call a tree bush. In other words, you have branches all the way down here. When I describe cleaning this tree up, we're not doing anything to the top, just taking out some of the lower limbs as you see in this drawing. Other details, moving around, this is more of the functional end of things. We would be cutting on this, and we'd be cutting on this so it fits with a drain a little bit better. Coming around the side of the house, this is more functional too. You've got all these really bumpy roots. My recommendation on this is to just cover those with dirt, perhaps do a gravel pathway down here, or either pine straw over this or put gravel over it. But either way, this is sort of a trip hazard, so I recommend we do something with that. Talked about the Tupelo black gum. Main thing on that is fertilize it. And if you have I don't think you have irrigation, but anytime that you start watering a tree, it does it a lot of good in terms of leafing out and coming. We also talked about an issue that you have with puddling through here. It looked like water gets all the way up here on this section. So what I recommend doing is that we trench in a 6-inch pipe, put a drain inlet, bringing us on out here, backfill here where it's sunk down, and then add grass over that. This is just showing, hey, we backfill, we're going to grass over that, acknowledging that that's an issue. And then this shows where we would actually have the pipe go underneath the cap of this and then come out down here. Also, another drainage issue, we would tie into this and bring it out underground and then have it go out where it's actually already coming. It's in the direction that it's going, but get this cleaned up here as well. In the front entry, there's two options of things that we can do with this. First is we can just grass it. My other thought, though, and it coincides some with the ideas that I had with this area, is since it looks like this is a curb that gets run over, another thought I had was to put a good solid base in here and then add the same river rock that we would be using up there by the house. Have that matching over here, do a short wall, and then have a low growing lantana on top of this. Just keeping this simple, but right now you got a telephone pole, a mailbox, and all these wires. It's just really busy, so I wanted to keep this very, very simple. It goes around all these elements and makes maintenance a little bit easier. So that is a tour of my ideas. Give me some feedback on that. If you like those ideas, let me know, and then we'll get some numbers to it. Thank you so much, Corey with Creative Habitats Landscaping.